Welcome to the Bell Curve. When the Game Boy Advance arrived in 2001, it didn't just continue Nintendo's handheld legacy, it took portable gaming to a new level. For years, the Game Boy line had meant simplicity, small screens, limited colours, quick play sessions, but the Advance was something else entirely. It was the moment handheld gaming truly grew up, technically, visually, and creatively. It brought console-quality experiences to the palm of your hand. For many of us, it became a continuation of the Super Nintendo era, not through nostalgia alone, but through genuine evolution. At first glance, the Game Boy Advance looked familiar. The same trusty D-pad for pixel-perfect control, the same A and B buttons for those instinctive jumps and attacks, the same top-loading cartridge slot that slid in old favourites. But inside it was a revolution, a portable powerhouse. Its 32-bit processor unleashed the kind of crystalline detail and blistering speed that handheld gamers had only dreamed of, leaving the monochrome drudgery of the original Game Boy in its dust. Developers who once wrangled 16-bit masterpieces for the Super Nintendo suddenly found themselves crafting handheld epics that could match or even surpass their console triumphs. Games didn't have to feel like cut-down versions anymore. They could stand on their own, fast, detailed and ambitious. And for players, that changed everything. You could carry a world that once required a television and power socket, now in your pocket. Nintendo understood exactly what they'd built. A portable heir to their 16-bit throne, crafted with the precision of a Hyrule smith. The parallels with the Super Nintendo weren't accidental, they were intentional. A deliberate bridge from living room legends to pocket-sized sagas. Look at its early releases: Super Mario Advance, dropping in June 2001 as a launch day homage, reimagined the SNES's quirky Super Mario Bros. 2 with Game Boy Advance polish, like unlockable Luigi antics and challenge modes. Before long we had the Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, its overworld and underworld shimmering with added dungeon maps. Donkey Kong Country, Rare's banana-fueled romp translated with pre-rendered sprites that barely lost a pixel despite the squeeze. And Super Mario World as Advance 2, the cornerstone of 16-bit gaming. Reborn for the GBA with fluid cape flights and secret star roads intact, proving that this new handheld could cradle console epics without flinching. Some dismissed this as recycling, a lazy loop of cartridge cash grabs amid the port parade. But for many, these weren't re-releases, they were revelations. Gateways for kids who'd grown up on Game Boy Color rainbows but never touched a SNES's joypad. Entire generations who'd missed the 90s glow were now discovering its classics on a rattling train, in a sun-dappled car backseat, or under a duvet late at night. The Game Boy Advance didn't just echo the SNES, it embodied it, channeling that same alchemy of tight controls and boundless imagination into a device that sold 81.5 million units. Even its original titles carried that same design philosophy: focused gameplay that rewarded every thumb twitch, rich colour palettes bursting from a 15-bit well, and imaginative worlds that folded the mundane into the magical. Metroid Fusion and Zero Mission built upon Super Metroid's twisting maze of exploration, infusing it with cinematic flair. Fusion unleashing its SAX pursuer to glide through the gleaming biotech halls like a chilling murmur of alien dread, while Zero Mission wove in covert infiltration moments, crafting a heartbeat of tension laced with awe and revelation. The Minish cap, Capcom's parting gift to the platform, could easily have been mistaken for a forgotten 16-bit adventure. Inventive puzzles that shrank you to mouse-scale mischief, beautifully drawn sprites evoking a link to the past's pixel poetry, all without a single polygon in sight. In every sense, the Game Boy Advance was a portable continuation of Nintendo's golden era, a clamshell time capsule that carried the fire of 90s mastery into the aughts, one glowing screen at a time. The Game Boy Advance's hardware design reflected a quiet confidence. There was nothing unnecessary, no touchscreens, no wireless menus, no operating system to navigate. You turned it on and you were immediately in the game. That simplicity is what makes it timeless. The SP model refined it further: compact, protective and backlit. It was elegance born from practicality. Even the Game Boy Advance Micro, though less common, distilled that design into pure minimalism. In an age before updates, downloads and notifications, the Game Boy Advance was refreshingly focused. It asked nothing more than your attention and rewarded you instantly. What truly defines the Game Boy Advance is its software library. It's not just vast, it's cohesive, creative, and full of personality. Nintendo's internal teams produced masterful platformers: Super Mario Advance, Yoshi's Island, Wario Land 4. Meanwhile, new ideas emerged. WarioWare Inc. turned microgames into an art form, while Advance Wars introduced turn-based tactics to a new audience. Role-playing fans found worlds of their own in Golden Sun and Fire Emblem. Each title carried the same attention to detail you'd expect from a console release. There was no sense of compromise, only creativity working within boundaries. Even now, these games hold up because they were designed with intent. They didn't chase realism or spectacle, they focused on clarity, gameplay and charm. It's a library that feels complete, even today. The early 2000s were a period of transition. Mobile phones were beginning to experiment with games, and Sony's PSP was on the horizon. The Game Boy Advance didn't compete through power, it competed through purpose. It knew what it was: a dedicated gaming machine, nothing more. That focus gave it resilience. Even after the DS launched, the Game Boy Advance continued quietly in the background, supported by developers and adored by players. In hindsight, it represents a kind of purity that's rare today, a time before constant connectivity, where gaming was immediate, tactile, and wonderfully self-contained. The Game Boy Advance sits at a fascinating crossroads. It carried the heart of the SNES, the spirit of the original Game Boy, and the spark that would ignite the DS and eventually the Switch. It represents Nintendo's philosophy at its best: innovative through simplicity, and progress without losing identity. Today, its games live on through Nintendo Online, allowing a new audience to experience them much as we did: small screen, big imagination. It's remarkable that, over 2 decades later, the Game Boy Advance still feels relevant. Its focus on immediacy and playability remains a reminder of what makes handheld gaming special. The Game Boy Advance wasn't simply a product of its time, it was a celebration of everything that came before it. When we call it a pocket-sized SNES, we're not just talking about graphics or power. We're talking about a feeling of carrying entire worlds in your pocket, ready whenever you needed them. And in that sense, perhaps no handheld has ever captured the spirit of gaming quite like it.